Hey folks, welcome back to a brand new video. Did you miss me? I wouldn't judge you if you didn't. So, we are back for the finale of Season 32 of PSGL. Finally got round to finishing this off. As I am now on a little bit of a hiatus from league racing. So this is our last hurrah for a while as we head out onto the Circuit of the Americas with a relatively decent qualifying by my standards, not last. The lights are on and we are away, starting on the hard tyres, a little bit squirrely with that interesting oversteer update we recently had, and heading up to turn 1. We've opted for the middle. There's a little bit of a gap there, but not really much we can do about it. We maintain our position. We've got a moment for, it was Mighty Wombat I believe, spun off my teammate's front end and has speared off into the wall. They're now sort of out of contention for the time being. They'll be open for a safety car. But we move through the first sector, having gained that position inherently, following our teammate through the S's. Lovely section this if you can hook it up. But yeah, at this stage of the race with the tyres still pretty cold, I was having to sort of take liberties with the track limits. So was my teammate, in fact. He's had a little bit of a run, and I thought, let's just have a go. But I definitely misjudged it. I went in too hot and didn't get the car stopped enough at the end. And made contact with him. There's a couple of cars found their way around too. One of them in the wall, in fact. So they're now out of the race. So we're now sitting net P9. In fact, P8 after another spin. This is all on the first lap. So pretty chaotic start to the race. But we look ahead. We move on. Not great, not terrible. Just looking to find that rhythm now because the tyres are beginning to come into the right window in terms of temperature. And we move... we're still in 8th for this point, feeling a bit of pressure from behind. We want to try and resist that as much as we can, but, you know, we're still struggling with the car. The setup wasn't working for us. Yet again, bit of a running theme with me in league racing. The setup not working for me, as Dirty Spy there, making the move down the inside, making the most of my lack of confidence going into that section particularly. Far too twisty for my liking. But we now move on to lap 4 of the race, looking to just start setting consistent lap times as best we can, with our best lap on the previous. 39.2 there, and then sitting there in the 39s really for the foreseeable as we just try and get that, you know, that confidence there, as Dirty Spy has a big moment on lap 7 coming out of the penultimate corner, and it gives us a little sniff of a chance, but we're still a little bit too far behind to make anything of it. And we will settle for now and use the DRS to save what we can. In terms of ERS, we've spent quite a lot already, 29%, and we weren't able for a while to get this first corner right. It kept messing up the braking, and it would unsettle us and leave us vulnerable to the Alfa Romeo behind, as Dirty Spy made an even bigger error on lap 8 and found himself in the wall. He did survive it. He is still alive to tell the tale. However, he's got to come in and get his wing changed. So a lot of our positions have been through other people's errors, not our skill and competency behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car. But we'll take what we get, right? And the Alfa Romeo is still piling that pressure on. He's looking for a little move here, but we had enough in the tank, enough gap going into the hairpin to make that work. As we're coming up on the back of TVH NL in the Haas, want to try and make the best of this. But again, that move down the inside. This time, tried to cover it off a little bit more and made the most of the traction out of the corner on the outside line. And we did hold on to it just about. And the good news is we're still in that position to capitalise on the DRS of the car ahead to help us defend against the Alfa Romeo behind, who is hungry for this 6th place, it must be said, as we're easing through the S's now. We did make a bit of an error there, obviously, picking up warnings. We've got a double warning there, in fact.
Another warning on that.
And for that reason, we are going to get a 3-second penalty at the end of the race. We had to bear that in mind and try and make up that gap coming towards the final stages of the race. And we look ahead now, not much happened in those couple of laps. We're just sort of following NL around. There was a mistake for a car just up ahead who was in the fight for the podium positions. So they were all at the top 3 fighting for the win. And there was a mistake for one of them, and they're now holding up my teammate. Of course, absolute chaos. Captain there was the one who made the mistake, and it's cost my teammate. It's brought us back into the fight against these two. Going on to lap 14, we're just about to come up to halfway through the race. Decisions need to be made now in terms of strategy, because you could argue to some extent we've been held up, and lo and behold, you know, it's almost like it's me driving at the time. We opt to pit and coming in and getting it stopped nice and early, and get this undercut, because we're going onto a faster tyre. It won't take too long to get up to temperature, and from there we can hopefully capitalise and make a couple of positions through this undercut manoeuvre. And fingers crossed, really. We've got to try and, the pit stop was fine. We've now just got to make it work for us out on track with a few cars. Well, we're in no man's land, really. There's no one about. We've got plenty of room to try and push now. And we've got a few cars there in the pit lane. We should be coming back past these. Unfortunately, we do. And we've got TVH NL there, which was one of the guys we were fighting. And we're right behind him now. And our tyres are up to temperature, remember. So we think, you know what? We've got a bit more grip. He's feeling a little bit tense on the inside. Let's go around the outside. And we've done him just before we enter the S's. And I must say, I was quite pleased with that. So, we'll take it. We move up to P5. And we'll try and make the most of this now. And get away while we have the tyre temperature advantage at least, which will only be for a couple of sectors before those mediums come into it. Fortunately, we couldn't quite break the DRS, and NL was still there, but we've got our teammate that was in the pits, and I don't know if he made a mistake somewhere, because he's found himself very, very far behind at this point. So he's only just stayed out ahead of Dutch Matisse, I think, in the Alfa Romeo who was challenging us earlier. So we've gained a lot out of this undercut, so very, very pleased with that. We're heading into the sort of last third of the race, really, well into that now, with the pressure mounting from the two behind us, NL and Izyine. Wow, in the Ferrari. Sorry about that. As he again goes for that big move down the inside, and there's not a lot I can do this time because he's got it stopped. He's got more grip. I think he pitted after me. He's done the overcut, which means he had a bit more grip, bit more confidence. And clearly his tyres are up to temperature. He's made that work for him. So we had a little bit of an error out of that final, that hairpin there, going onto the straight. Oh, we've got to make this work. We've got to make this work. We can't wait around for this move, so we're pushing now. We've got no ERS left, effectively. But at this point, we're close enough. We've got good straight line speed. Let's go for it. And there's a little move in the braking there, which I didn't appreciate. I thought, I don't know whether they're trying to defend me or not. Anyway, we hold it into this right-hander, and he's still there on the inside. Look back, and he's gone round. There was room on the inside. There was plenty of room there, and for whatever reason, there's been contact. Noting some lag issues through the race. Not sure if it was my end or not, but however, it's a shame for him. He's found himself round. But we do get that position with NL just behind us, sitting in P4 at the moment. So very, very good return at the moment. And we're basically hoping now that either there's a mistake for NL or he gets a penalty of his own. So all we can do is hold off and hope. It's not in our hands, it's in his, to try and make this work for him. And he doesn't really have to do anything, he just has to follow us. So we're coming on to we're on the penultimate lap now, heading down this back straight. And with the lack of ERS, not much we can do to defend here. We've got the straight line speed, which has been really helpful. But bear in mind, he's got the DRS. And he was looking down the inside. He was there. We had to be aware of that and leave him space. But we do have the outside line. It gives us the traction, which is really important. We can get that inside line and hold it through this twisty section. And I'm trying to learn from my mistakes by holding this inside line down here. And there was still room, but he never went for it. We actually missed the apex completely. So we're somehow still holding on to this position. But again, he still hasn't got a penalty. So we aren't going to capitalise at this point. So net P5 as it stands, but given the calibre of some of the drivers in this division, I'm pretty pleased with how it's going so far. So all we have to do is hold on through this last lap for hopefully a top 5 finish. Coming through this S section now, a lovely section to get to do if you can get it right, which eventually I was starting to. And in fact, it might just be a better return than we thought, as Dirty Spy has had some kind of issue. I think it was a puncture by the looks of it. I think it was a rear left, potentially, had gone. And that means that he's completely out of contention now. He's not going to get round 4 points finish, that's for sure. Well, actually, there's 10 people, so he'd need to DNF for that. And even then, I think he would still score a point. But either way, I'm waffling now. We are still in this fight. We've gained up into 3rd at the moment, so we are hoping and praying that NL actually gets himself a penalty, because that's a podium at the moment. But still very happy with how it's looking, and it's a really close battle through the hairpin. He does get momentarily ahead of us. We do hold it, though, again, with that bit more traction on the outside line. Oh, very wide out of there, with a big kick of oversteer, and he's opted for the outside line, but there's no room there. We hold him off. We get the better run out of the outside line through that corner and coming through these fast triple apex right. And just holding on now. Those tyres are screaming, I think. And it's not going to be enough for NL, but that's on track because he doesn't have a penalty. So unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, we're going to get a P4. Best result of the season. GG. GG. Come on! Couldn't do anything about the penalty. There's nothing I could do about that. Could have been a spectacular result, but it's still a pretty damn good one to see it off. Come on, P4. What a result. Yes! What a way to send it off, huh? Not bad at all. For a last F1 race. Well, a last F1 league race for a while. I'm very pleased with that. I'm very pleased with that. It's hard fought. The setup was perfect. There wasn't too much in the way of drag on the straight, so it was really helpful. Even when they had DRS, they couldn't get past. Yes! Come on!